guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, then welcome. I hope you stick around. I'm sorry it's been so long since I've posted. I finally got a job, and these past few weeks I've been spending a lot of time writing a TV script for a contest that I would love to tell you guys about in another video, but since it's been so long since I've posted, I'll get straight to the point of the video today. Just to let you guys know, the video today will most likely be split into a few different parts, only because, and I believe I've said it in a different video, that the format I use to edit only allows me to post videos in 15-minute intervals. So, you know, if you guys have any suggestions on any editing software for my iPhone, let me know in the comments down below. So, I've stated before that trauma is an experience that leaves psychological injury or pain. So don't think that just because you may not have been assaulted or injured or traumatized in a way that society deems good enough to be considered traumatized or traumatic, you know, it doesn't mean that it hasn't traumatized you or, you know, hasn't left you with some emotional scars. And, you know, I just wanted to say that and let you guys know that, you know, however you're feeling is valid, because we are all different, very different people. We have all very different personalities and makeups, and that's okay if we disagree with each other. But just because someone disagrees with you doesn't mean that your emotions and your feelings are invalid. So anyway, I'm gonna get right into the topic today. As a child, because I've found that a lot of trauma or things people struggle with stem from childhood. But, you know, as a child, you have no or almost no control over your environment or any situations you may be put in. You know, you're very much at the mercy of whatever adults are raising you or influencing you as you age. You know, that feeling of having no control can stem into adulthood. And since many traumas happen in your pubescence, not all, and when I say pubescence, I really mean like from when you're born to when you're considered an adult. You know, if you're anything like me, you may need to remind yourself that, you know, now that you are an adult and you have to make all your own decisions, you're in control and you have the right to say no or put your foot down or deal with a situation how you see fit. You know, one thing I do, which is just a little exercise I thought I would put out there for you guys, is, you know, I write down what I need to remind myself and then I read it back to myself out loud. For example, one of the things I wrote down was, I have the right to say no to anything that I don't want happening to me. Now, I know this probably seems like really corny and really cliche to a lot of you guys, but, you know, they say practice makes perfect, and gaining that courage and that ability to put your foot down and do what you need to do to get the things you need or you want, or, you know, being able to say no to things that make you uncomfortable, it takes practice. And saying things like this to yourself out loud multiple times can leave an influence on you subconsciously. And, you know, again, it might not be for everyone, but I think, you know, you should at least try it, because even though it doesn't work for everyone, it might just work for you. And I think you guys will realize that, you know, if you say stuff like that back to yourself over and over again, you realize the power that these words possess, and it helps a lot, I promise you guys. So these sets of videos are going to be discussion/writing exercises, so please follow along with a pencil and paper. Okay, so to begin, I think it's really hard. I think one of the hardest things for people to do is to say no when they don't want something or feel uncomfortable with something because of the consequences. They don't want to make the situation awkward, or they don't want to possibly get hurt or yelled at. You know, some of these situations might be like uncomfortable or intimate touch, sex, doing favors like lending money, medical procedures, you know, abuse or harassment, other people are really controlling over you, spending time with people who treat you badly, alcohol, drugs, going places you don't want to go, doing things you don't want to do, etc. So with that being said, I am going to lead into my first question. Now for me, to be quite honest with you guys, it's really hard for me to say no to intimate touch or sex. It's probably my biggest weakness as far as being able to say no. As far as that goes, you know, anytime, you know, growing up in my household was really hard, and anytime I needed an outlet, most of my outlets came at a cost. You know, these people that I went to for help, you know, I either did these things for them or, you know, I didn't have an outlet anymore. I didn't have an out. And to me, when I was young, this is what I was raised with. This is how I was taught to be. So I was willing to put myself in those situations because not only did I think it was okay, but I needed a way out. And I needed these people, or I thought I needed these people, and I was willing to, not willing, but I put myself in their hands, whether I wanted to be or not. And I think that's really hard to kind of come out of as an adult and being my own person and being able to look back for myself and realize all the things that were really wrong. Sometimes I'll do favors or things like I don't want to do, like lending people money, because they either expect me to do them or they're so caught up in their own like mess, their lives are just a mess that they need my assistance. And I was raised that you help everyone even at the cost of yourself, and even if you're just enabling them. So, whenever I say no or put my foot down, I was kind of like ridiculed for it. I would say the first time that I was ever able to like say no to like sex or really like defend myself was when a certain family member of mine was texting me and harassing me to come hang out and come over, and they were sending me really inappropriate pictures. And this wasn't an uncommon thing. A lot of our relationship, if that's what you want to call it, for lack of a better term, it was about 12 years of my life. So at this point, it was about around the time where the 12 years was ending. And, I just finally had enough. I was really uncomfortable. I was sick of what he was doing. So I texted him back and I said, if you don't stop, I'm going to tell everyone what you're doing. I'm going to expose what you're doing and I'm going to expose the situation. And, I really put my foot down. I was kind of violent, but I told him, I was like, if you don't stop, you're going to regret it. So eventually he stopped, and it felt really good. I'm not gonna lie. I was relieved to be able to put my foot down and be like, no. So for me, really, any time any of the 4 guys who assaulted me kind of forced themselves on me, even more what I think of is another family member who is not part of the 4 men who assaulted me. He never assaulted me in any way. Who lived in my house. He had a very addictive, destructive personality, and a lot of the time, my whole childhood was growing up around him and, what was best for him and doing things for him. Like, we had to cook or clean up after him, there was constant fights. He constantly would fight with people to get what he wanted, and one of the things obviously, it's not that I didn't want to do it, but watching his kids or helping raise his kids, like me, my mom, my sister, and quite a few other members of our household who would stay home from work or school some days just to watch his children. And don't get me wrong, I love them and I regret nothing. But the whole point is I had to put important parts of my life on hold for him. And, I never lent him any money or any of my personal things, but because I didn't, a lot of times, I'd come home from school and, any money I had in my room was gone. Anything valuable I had, gone. Eventually over time I said no more and more, but I still struggle with it because no matter when I say no, things happen anyway. I could only assume that with the 4 men, it would have become more violent. One of them, and I do actually want to make a separate video about this particular person. Obviously, I'm not going to say their name, and I'm not going to say who it is for personal reasons. But the dynamic was very interesting, and it was very obviously unhealthy and misguided. But one of them, at least, I don't think he would have gotten more violent. I believe that. I think it just would have gotten really weird and awkward, and that's still something people want to still want to avoid, because feeling weird and awkward is really uncomfortable, and it's already an uncomfortable situation, so people don't want to add to it. As for the person in my house, I don't think they'd ever lay their hands on me. Maybe, but I really doubt it. The situation would get more chaotic. It would become more verbal and just really hard to be around if I said no, or if I'd put my foot down in whatever way. The obvious answer seems like no, but really, both outcomes would have been ugly or unfair. But I think, learning to stand up for yourself and identify certain situations that make you uncomfortable is more important than the fear. And obviously you don't ever want to put yourself in harm's way, but that's one of the reasons why I'm making these videos, because I want to teach you guys and myself how to deal with certain situations and how to avoid certain situations and how to identify certain situations. For me, I stay away from the situation. I clear my head. What I like to do is I like to get a trusting third party's perspective on the situation, how they feel about it. Because I think sometimes, being in a certain situation, especially, a violent one or an abusive one or a traumatic one or what have you, you're so lost in the situation and you're so used to it and you're so accustomed to it that you don't think clearly and you may become unsure of things. So getting that trusting third-party perspective can really help with that. And also, even if you're grounded in yourself and you know what's happening is wrong, sometimes getting that third-party perspective can help you kind of just solidify your reasoning. And also, even if you don't agree with what they're saying, it can make you think more and more about, who you feel you can trust. And it may be, even if you don't agree with them, it may be traumatic, because believe me, I've gone to friends and it's backfired badly, but ultimately it's a lesson. And that's how I deal with it, is seeing that it's a lesson. But anyway, being more grounded in myself, if I ever am forced to face the situation or a situation that's triggering, when I'm more grounded in myself and trust myself and know what to do and have faith in myself, the situations become less triggering, or they become less awkward or uncomfortable for me. So, the environment and the people around me, it doesn't affect me as much.